Okay. Hi, we are live. All right. Everybody, welcome. It's Mike from Millennium Martial Arts. Today is episode 196 of Time Out Tuesday. That's 196 weeks that I've been coming to you live with just, thoughts about what's going on at the dojo, how we approach things about our culture. And that's actually one of the things that I wanted to touch on today. So we had our belt testing. We do our belt testing every about 2.5 months or so at the school. And it's always a time of preparation leading up to the test, some nervousness, of course, not just the students and not just their parents, but, as instructors, we're really hoping and rooting for the best for our students. And, we're nervous for them. We want to see them have a great performance and a great experience, of course. And we spend a lot of time leading up to the test, really making sure that we know where each student is, what their strengths and weaknesses are, and what kind of things that we can advise them to do to have a better testing experience. And that includes even advising them at times that maybe this test is something that they want to skip and, work on for the next test. But like many tests, it gives me an opportunity afterward to really reflect on how we're doing, how the students are doing, the direction, if there's anything that needs to be changed, of course. And this test to me was very eye-opening. We had, first of all, everyone did a really nice job. On balance, everybody came very nicely prepared. They did very well on their requirements. One of the things that is very difficult in our testing environment, which is very different from a lot of other schools that I'm aware of, is that we fully regression test everybody. What I mean by regression testing is that we always require them to demonstrate that they still can demonstrate with proficiency and really increased proficiency all of the old requirements that got them to the point where they are right now before we take a look at what new requirements are. There are many schools that I'm aware of that only test on new requirements, never really regression testing until maybe, let's say, a black belt test. And in some online groups that I'm a member of, I've participated in lots of discussions about this. And one of the answers that I heard about why they do that, why don't they bother testing on the old requirements as well as the new requirements, was something that we're just so morally opposed to, even in concept. The answer that I got was, well, most of them are not going to make it that far anyway, so why stress them out by having to make sure that they know all these old requirements that they're never going to need. To me, that's surrendering as a school, surrendering as a teacher, not really making sure that what we're teaching them is enriching them and providing some value. So in any case, we always want to make sure that all of our students know everything that they already needed to know before they move forward. So one of the things that I found really exciting about this particular test, and actually our testing is not really over. We have another group of students testing in a week from now. Those are our most advanced students. We have 5 students that are testing for one of the 3 different levels of brown belts that we have. We have two students that are testing for their first brown belt, 2 that are testing for their second, and 1 that is testing for their third. These are very high ranks. These are preparation for black belt. It's very rare. Way less than 10% really actually make it that far in training. It really takes a serious amount of devotion, years, weathering the highs and lows of training to get that. And it's very impressive when students do get that. But one of the things that really struck me this particular go-around was a subset of our students that tested. We had, I believe it was 6 students ranging, most of them were 9 years old, one that was 10, one that was 11, that tested for very, very high ranks. In our school, blue belt, purple belts, and green belts are the upper intermediate ranks. Less than 50% of the people that start karate will make it as far as that. And one of the reasons why they don't make it that far is because it's hard. And it gets progressively harder as time goes on. More and more material is required to learn for their next belt. And as I mentioned earlier, more and more is now part of your backlog of stuff that you need to always be able to demonstrate improved proficiency at. So that makes it very, very hard to continue moving on. And we do this by design. Our tests are designed not to be easy, not to just strap a belt on kids every couple of months, but rather make sure that they understand that in order to get to these high ranks, increased effort, increased amount of time practicing, preparing, training, understanding is absolutely going to be required. And in all of the cases of the students that tested, each and every one of them had to really jump over some pretty high obstacles along the way to prepare for this test. And I watched it very closely, did quite a few private lessons with several of them in preparation of this. In many cases, they're maturing in their martial arts training to a point where they're beginning to recognize their own strengths and weaknesses and are seeking out additional help, either through the form of attending more classes, attending more of our open floor classes where we have a supervised practice session, or engaging in one or a plurality of private lessons to really give them that fine tuning that they need. And I wish I can say that leading up to the test, it was a real smooth sail for a lot of them, and it was clear that they were going to come in and knock this test out of the ballpark. But truthfully, really coming down to the wire in the last couple of weeks, there was a lot of things that they were working on, some of which they were struggling with. They were having some doubts. They were having some concerns about their readiness. But the amazing thing was to watch them plow through. And in fact, one of the students told their parents after the test that they think it was the hardest thing that they've ever done and the hardest work that they've ever put in to achieve success on this test. And from what I saw, I agree. It was just really impressive to watch these young students do the kind of thing that they needed to do to achieve what most students are never going to achieve in the martial arts, which is to achieve these upper intermediate ranks. And obviously our goal is to get many children and teens and adults at that level, but just the fact remains that in almost anything that requires the kind of commitment and time and effort, you see a lot of people dropping out at certain points if they don't have what it takes to move through them. And that's true when you look at things like musical instruments or all kinds of other things that require ongoing effort. So in any case, I just want to say how impressed I was. I look forward to having many other students walk in their footsteps, and I look forward to these students in particular really helping other students walk that path behind them, being able to use their own story about their own journey and their own trials and tribulations to really carry them forward. And I think it's one of the important things that we cultivate at the school. It's cultural to work hard, it's cultural to test them hard, and it's cultural to pass down our own experiences to our students so that we can carry them forward. So anyway, with that said, I wish everybody a fantastic day. It's still beautiful out, so try to spend some time out before the trees are bare and the snow starts falling. So have a peaceful day.